culturally here in the US, like I think that's a significant area where people aren't comfortable with a lot of immigration because the stories of immigrants aren't really told much, you know? Like again, like I was asking you guys earlier, like I can't imagine on the wide scale, large audience, big major Hollywood blockbuster movie or something, or even like a Lifetime movie or something like that, that I can just recall where it's really on the premise of the immigrant life, you know, of just growing up here in the US, trying to figure your way around, just telling their story.
Mm-hmm.
You think about every single story, and a lot of the stories, especially when you're talking about, you know, science fiction or superhero movies, it's overdone, you know, like everything is now to the point where it's like, shit, you watch a movie and it's just like, oh yeah, this is a remake, a reboot, a redo, you know, or we're taking the same themes or the same idea. This is part 2 or part 3. And it's everything just feels so exhausting that it's done over and over and over again. But you think about it, like at least the immigrant story, people coming here to the US, and I'm talking about like not just specifically of one racial category group. It could be a variety because every immigrant's going to probably have a different experience, their own story. You know, we're talking about all the way down from when the Irish first came here, or the Italians, or I mean, the Italians, they got the kind of the mafia movies, and it's it's pretty good. It's pretty good though.
I'm pretty sure all of them have their own movies we just don't know about too as well.
Maybe so, and that's why I emphasize like on a large scale, like a large audience where people get more acquainted and familiar with, hey, this is what immigrant life kind of goes through. And culturally, we kind of come to terms of understanding it and accepting it and learning about it and growing. And it becomes more, I'd say, mainstream acceptance of learning and understanding immigrant. And it's so weird because the US is a big fucking melting pot of immigrants. That's all it really is. But there's not a lot of significant stories that tell that story.
What about that one movie, Coming to America? With Eddie Murphy,
Eddie
right?
Murphy.
Oh.
Coming to America. That's a comedic take on it. I don't recall it very well.
Yeah.
I saw it like a long time ago.
Yeah, I don't even know if I watched that movie.
They made a sequel or something, maybe. But
recently, yeah. I think he came back to reprise his role or whatever.
yeah, so I don't know enough about the story to say that that captures like a real immigrant experience.
Or what about that one, that Cheech and Chong, I don't remember the name, but it's I was born in the East LA. You guys remember that song?
I kind of remember that movie. I think the movie's called Born in the East LA, right?
And then it's about the Cheech and Chong character, or
yeah, I think that
one of the
character's in
guys.
it. I think he's in there.
I feel like
if I can
know what
recall,
you're
it's such
talking
an
about.
old movie.
It's an obscure, like
yeah. There's this one scene where he's teaching the guys how to be cool, and he's like,
yeah,
remember?
Yeah, that had to have been Cheech and
about?
Chong guy.
So why is that about the immigrant experience, though?
I don't know. I don't even remember what that movie's about. I thought that movie was about getting high and smoking weed, and
I gotta look it up.
It's just a comedy or
immigration,
something.
you know, non-white movie or something like that. But
because I mean, I've always waited to see if they would tell like the Asian immigrant story. You know, like I've waited my whole life for that.
I'm still waiting.
they
Like,
got the crazy
when are they
rich
gonna do it?
Asian one.
That's
That's the Asian movie, though.
That's so far fetched, and that's not the real story of Asian immigrants. You know, none of us are rich. Majority of us are poor as shit.
We're
know?
like the opposite of that. Crazy rich Asian. We're like normal poor.
crazy poor Asians.
Yeah, I'd rather watch Crazy Poor Asians. That movie would be 10 times more interesting.
A lot more interesting.
Yeah.
It's not just the immigration experience I feel like is lacking in storytelling, but it's like the immigration / like that first generation, you know, that experience of like immigrant first generation clashing with American culture and how the generations battle that out and how they both sort of assimilate.
All right, I'll challenge you guys in. If you were to tell that story, what is an immigrant within our own personal understanding? What is an immigrant understanding that maybe other people won't understand? You know, from what we grew up with, and our understanding and kind of what we do culturally. Well, I mean, what's a challenge? What's a situation that you've been through?
Yeah, it's hard to say because we are immigrants, but we're not really immigrants. Our parents are immigrants. You know, we're born here, so we'd have to tell this story from that
The
true
first generation,
that first
side,
generation
but
coming
still
in.
feeling the effects of that immigrant effect. But
But if we're talking about our past experiences and our thing, yeah, it was weird living in America. Not weird, but like to be in a society where all you see is like white people,
Mhm.
black people, but you're the only Asians actually living in, you know, Charlotte, North Carolina, you know, like it's that minority class, how we've been treated, how we've treated other people. It's been kind of a crazy experience in itself, you know. But
Do you guys remember that one Asian TV show that came on? Gosh, it was about the Asian family.
fresh off the boat,
Fresh off the boat. Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
I
that
didn't
comedy
watch it,
show.
though.
see, one of those.
I got so excited when that show got announced because I was like, this is it.
the
Finally.
immigrant experience.
Yes, this is the show I've been waiting for. And I watched it. I was like, this has nothing to do with any of us, you know? Like, it doesn't represent the
It's on
actual...
ABC though, isn't that right? It's
Yeah,
probably
something
After
like that.
Blackish
Yeah.
or something like that.
It was
If they
a
have
derivative,
Blackish.
a derivative of Blackish was a hit, I think.
Yeah.
Or
Let's make
a
another
little bit
racial
mixed
show.
with, like, you know, Everybody Hates Chris or
The
something
same
like that.
style of like
Comedy.
storytelling, comedy.
Fresh off the boat.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that bad. They had some funny jokes, but they were trying too hard to be Fabi-ish, fresh off the boat, basically.
I know
So-
that's racist. I don't know. It just seems right to say it there. I don't know. I guess it's racist.
But I mean, like they had a grandma on the show and she spoke English. I'm like, grandmas don't speak English, you know?
I know.
And it just didn't feel like I couldn't relate to that at all. It was like, hey, let's write a script about the theme of Asian immigrants, you know, but let's do it in the perspective of what white people would think they would be going through. You know, it didn't feel, you know, at home at all. You know, it didn't feel genuine. It just felt like this doesn't represent us, you know? Like
That's Hollywood for you, man. That's for that audience that, we know nothing about Asians, but I find this very funny, you know?
I would want something like, you know, like do something like, you know, remember a TV show called Party of Five, you know?
yeah.
Like that drama or something like that, but do like something deep like
An
that.
immigrant experience of that.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would have been a hit. But again, like TV shows like this don't exist.
Party of Five. I wonder how many people even remember that show. Party of Five. It was a pretty good show though.
Yeah, it was really deep and it was very dramatic, and you know, like you fell for a lot of the characters because of the
girls
things.
were really hot too.
Yeah,
Neve Campbell.
And Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Yeah,
Like I was in love with Jennifer Love Hewitt. You know, just
she was like so pretty and so sweethearty.
yeah. One of the girls, I think it was Jennifer Love Hewitt. You know, whenever she had her lines, she always had this little breath in it, like, you know, it always like, oh, it hit my heart every time she sighed and had that breath or whatever. But I don't know, like with the Asian immigrant process, you know, like I don't know, it's more over just this culture clash of one, we're trying to figure out how to adapt and into society, but also at the same time, like we have mom and dad telling us exactly, you know, like how to behave and the traditions and what we eat and you know, and like Hmong people call it like the kechais and all that kind of stuff. And so it was always a mixed blend of like I don't know what the hell, like how to live my life, you
How to
know?
balance all these little effects everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what was I gonna say? Immigration, immigrants, all that stuff's been like the hot buzzword 2025. I imagine, you know, it's been at the center point of a lot of conflict and debate and whatnot. But to your point, Colin, it's like for those who are pro immigration as an aspect, like to enrich the cultural diversity, melting pot of the country, for those who are for that or even against right now doing a pause in immigration, whether it's legal, illegal, whatever, if you're sort of against that, you're America first, it would probably behoove you either side to get to know more about the immigrant story, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a big voice for and against it right now, but not many even know what that story looks like. But there isn't one grand story. That's the problem too. You may have a story that represents a certain demographic and a certain location. Like we always talk about that Irish experience up in the Northeast, you know, the Boston area when they first settled. at least for us Hmong people, it's all California, Minnesota when we first arrived here, post Vietnam War. So it's kind of like each one's sort of unique because there's not one overriding story, but I still think it's important. Like I think if people want to speak so passionately about immigration, whether you're for it or defending it or trying to constrain or whatever, get to know what that story is, what that looks like. And we don't know. Yeah, there isn't a lot of good movies or prominent TV series or something that shows the American journey, someone.
You know what the closest one is, though? Shameless. Shameless? Closest one to that environment, but Shameless is like the white people. But as immigrants, everyone immigrant coming up here was poor, so it's almost in that same environment.
Trade off all the white characters with Asians.
Yeah, huge family, one house, that type of stuff. Everybody got their own thing. That's kind of
it does describe a very like unique scenario. Even the other families on the show, that they're the immigrant side. I forget their names though. The one the son was in love with. They were gay.
Oh yeah, I
That
forget the name of
family,
yeah.
They were gay, and that family's like immigrant.
Their own immigration. Those are cousins or like
Yeah.
something on the other side. But I think that would be the closest, but still not immigration, full immigration.
I don't know, but it's a good point because I think that journey, that experience, at least for us coming from the first generation perspective, because when our parents went, they were raising us as children, they were freshly here, like it's not like they had been here for a long time and then they had us. No, it's like, so just sort of like figuring things out as you go along. And you asked earlier, what is that unique immigrant trait or experience that you could identify with that you'd only know if you were an immigrant, and I think that's one of them, is that it's sort of like never really knowing and you just figure it out as you go along aspect.
Especially in comparison to how you guys are raising your kids nowadays.
Yeah.
Like the difference between life as a kid today versus back then, especially in the situation we were in, drastically different.
Our kids are in the know about everything because we have direct access to people at schools, principals. We have everything covered, whereas us going to school, it was just like,
I know, we had to figure everything out.
Mom and dad were barely sort of part of the picture. Remember those ladies that picked us up at school and bought us shoes that day?
Yeah.
That's an immigrant experience of like,
my shoes, they had opened my feet were hanging out, and my teacher was like, "Can't do this no more. I'm taking you to the mall and buying
second
shoes."
grade or first grade, and I remember that day. And
they drove us to the mall.
We got in their back seat, and I felt safe only because you guys were there, just the three of us. And
yeah,
because I was wondering,
I didn't know where we were going.
Yeah, same with me. But I messed up though, because when I got there, I didn't know what we were doing either. So I ended up just choosing I think the lady just gave me some shoes, even though I wanted the Nikes or whatever.
you ain't getting those Jordans.
I just chose whatever they gave to me, and I just
really?
I didn't even choose. I don't know if you had a choice to choose.
I feel like I recall having options, and it was the first time in my life I recall that I could look at a wall of shoes, and there was you can have a selection of maybe not like anyone on, because back then shoes probably weren't super duper expensive. They probably were still expensive, but not like today. But you had a wall of options, I recall. And I remember for the first time in my life feeling like, really? Is there some sort of hack here? What's going on?
There's a catch to this.
There's a catch to this.
What did I do?
Does mom and dad know about this? Yeah. And which one are you guys going to get? And I didn't care. I was just like, sure. So we got the shoes. We didn't discover it till after the fact that were they teachers or social workers or
no they it was two black ladies that worked at Windsor Park, the elementary school that we were at
in Charlotte, North Carolina.
I think they were the social workers within there or
the school social worker,
or something like that,
and realized that we were brothers and that our shoes were
our shoes
had mouths.
They had mouth flaps and holes and everything. Which we were so unaware of that. We didn't know better. We're just so when they took us to the mall, it's not like we're like, oh, that's why finally we're addressing our shoe issue. It was more like, really? We can have this for free? I can choose anyone. I was so happy that day because I had the the cleanest, whitest shoes I've ever had for like ever in my life. Like the brand new shoe look.
The brand newest
yeah,
shoe
like
you've ever had.
a cleanest, spotless shoe. Like I've never had that. I just had like hand-me-downs or broken ass shoes, you know. So I remember having the new shoe smell and feel.
Yes.
And I don't
that too.
I don't recall us talking about it much after that. We just kind of went, got our shoes, and we're like, hey, I don't know what that was about, but whoever those ladies were, thank you.
Yeah, I remember when my kindergarten teacher, Miss Guthrie, I still remember her name. She took me to Discovery Zone in Charlotte, North Carolina. But before we went, we stopped at a McDonald's, and she gave me.
I did too. I swear.
Were you with me?
Either that or they did the same for me too.
They might have
No,
done the same
yeah.
thing. No, I think that she did do the same thing for you. She
It
was
was-
like,
I
"Man,
remember
your brother
always-
did so well. We're gonna do the same thing for you."
I'm pretty sure I was in there too as well because I remember going to McDonald's and I was like, "Oh my god, we're going to McDonald's!"
And the same thing happened. They gave me the choice. They were like, "You can pick anything you want up there."
Like anything?
Yeah, I froze. I didn't even. This has never happened before. I couldn't even tell them what I wanted. I looked at it. I wanted everything.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't say anything. I was just stuck. So then they waited and waited and waited, and they're like, "Okay, well, we'll just get you the same thing that her husband got, and,
Sure.
which was like a jelly, like." I don't know, it was like a jelly sandwich. Did they serve that at some point at
Jelly?
McDonald's? Yeah, it was like a piece of bread with like all you did was pour jelly on it and mix it. And I ate that and I was so disappointed. I was like, I should have said something, but I couldn't. I was just so frozen that I was given this choice to pick anything I wanted.
Because as soon as you pick something, you're gonna miss out on something else.
Yeah.
You're like, I've never been given the freedom of so many choices that you freeze in that too.
To think that we had to go through that.
I remember going to like just Perkins with a friend when we were younger, and that was the first time I was at Perkins, and it was like one of my first diner sit style menu type experiences.
Mhm.
And they gave us a menu, and the menu was just gorgeous. It was beautiful, like, and the family like they go there like every other day, so they already like chose their food, and I took forever, and I didn't realize I was taking so long.
You do know that you still take forever on the menu today.
Even today, probably.
Because there's such a huge selection.
But like, you know, you turn it over, you always get to the end and you start over
back
again.
over.
And I remember the dad making a comment, like my friend's dad saying, "That's good. Why don't you try that? That's good." And looking kind of irritated. And I had no idea why. I was like, why is he like kind of irritated?
Would you just fucking hurt
I
me?
know, pretty much. Because I was so oblivious to the whole scenario of like, because I couldn't determine like what I wanted because everything just looked so good. And
Are you some kind of dumb?
are you stupid or something?
No, it's not that. It's more so in regards to you realizing that I'm gonna get something good that I don't ever get.
Yeah, you want to
So I'm gonna
relish it.
stay with it,
Stay
get the
with
best
it.
I can do.
Because you don't know when the next time you're gonna get this
Yeah,
option.
you don't know when the next time is, so you want to make sure you make the best choice of it. That's why you're so confused on what to get.
Yeah. And I was confused, and I get that, but I was also, it's just kind of shocks me after the fact, or kind of makes me think of how oblivious I was to the family that was getting irritated by it. Like I was so oblivious to, because I thought maybe this was like a great treat for them too. And I just recall like the dad was like pushing me along, and I was like, oh, I don't know, why is he so upset or whatever. I finally did just choose something, but it's like you think about it later on, and you realize that this is just another Wednesday night for them.
Well, I would imagine too, just speaking in perspective with Hmong people, being the immigrants. I mean, we were the new people on the block during the 80s, going into the 90s, and, and
New
being
kids on the
Hmong,
block.
of course, and then being Hmong too, like no one knew what Hmong was, even to this day.
Yeah.
Like they still don't understand when they ask you, "Oh, well, what's your racial background?" I'm Hmong. Is that Mongolian?
Like Mongols. Right?
Mongols or something. They don't understand.
Hmong?
And even worse, back in the 80s and 90s, it was either you're Chinese or Japanese. That's all it really came down to. That's all people knew.
Yeah.
They didn't even know Korean back then. Korean, like the culture of Korean and their prominence in the US didn't come to like, I would say like 90s and 2000s. Not to say that there weren't Koreans here before
Yeah.
or anything like that, but me growing up, I don't remember or recall like that being even of relevance. It was either Chinese or Japanese or whatever
I
else.
get that one adopted Korean, but it's not true Korean what you're talking about, like immigration Korean or something like that. Though.
Yeah, exactly. But then you come here and, your parents they're immigrants. They don't know how to speak English. They're trying to acclimate to the society and trying to find work and make a living and, you know, survive and so forth. So you're guaranteed poor. So then you're just dirty, you're poor, nasty looking, messed up hair, holes in your shoes and stuff like that. So, you know, you go sit in class and everybody else is like nice and clean, hair's all combed with fresh new clothes and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that's just the life that you kind of just have to deal with, you know, when you're a kid growing. I mean, you don't know any better and you don't really understand anything too. And there's never a situation where, you know, at least as a refugee immigrant, like you don't come into this country with means already. You don't come in and like, you know, there's no such thing in our world of crazy rich Asians, like that kind of thing. You know, we're just trying to survive and that's about it. And there's a whole
Just figuring it out as you go along.
bunch of us too. And the rest of the neighborhoods is like, look at them stink ass Chinese people down the street, you know, like who the hell is this, you know? And then you have this cultural norm of being Hmong too, where like you have shit like, you know, your parents killed chickens in the backyard, you know, and shit like that.
In a residential neighborhood.
In a residential neighborhood. I mean,
Not
it's
on a
just
farm, but just like
that's just the way it was. It's like earlier this year when you know, Donald Trump and JD Vance and the people of Ohio were like, you know, they're eating the cats and dogs, you know, like I get it, you know, that's what more people went through, you know, like we weren't eating cats and dogs, but you know, we were eating pigeons and birds and chickens and whatever we could do, you know, and because there's a certain taste in that live chicken, you know, that you can't buy at the store.
And they've probably, mom and dad probably had it at the store many times, just not the same.
Yeah.
Not the same. They want that farm.
And anyone born here, like my girls born here and in society now, and not having to deal with the life of a first or second generation of immigrants, they would never know what it feels like to have to kill a chicken with your bare hands and pluck all the feathers. You know what I'm saying? Or something is just as crazy as that. I can't even imagine making one of my daughters go through that.
Yeah.
You know? And those are the kind of the things that only we could experience, you know? Like and for me, when those things happen too, I remember in Charlotte, North Carolina, I just prayed to God that like none of the friends came over at that moment. Like we had Gerald and Jerry down the street.
Marky and them, and they would just show up sometimes. Hey, you guys want to play and play basketball?
I think there was one time I remember they did show up when we were killing chickens. I think it was like Marquis or Gerald or something like. They was like, "What the fuck?
So what y'all doing?
Y'all killing some damn chickens back here?" But I mean, there's a ton of that, you know, and you know, at least when we grew up, and I remember like we never got like soda, you know, things like that. Like mom and dad, they always bought soda, but that was only for the guest, you know, and that was like hidden away, or
it was always like Coca-Cola or something heavy.
We tried really hard to sneak a couple cans out and start drinking it a little bit, you know.
No, but they get us the fruit drink in the gallon jugs.
Yeah. Yeah, the
generic
purple drink.
Yeah, the purple drink
or the red drink. Wasn't even Tampico yet.
No,
it was
like an upgrade.
Yeah,
it was
that was
food
an upgrade.
Tampico is an upgrade. Our stuff's kind of like just the generic colored drinks.
It was the green, the purple, the red,
yeah.
And then mysteriously came out the blue.
The blue for a little while.
Yeah. And then the blue was like, limited edition. I'm gonna get some of that blue stuff.
Yeah, it was like the purple stuff, blue stuff type thing.
It's the same punch drinks that you would get like in the small canisters or whatever like that though. But it's the cheap ones. All it is sugar, water, color. Just like what Chappelle said. That's all it is.
Well, I mean, people have the stories of what it feels like to grow up, I guess, relatively impoverished, but we're kind of wrapping that up with the immigrant experience too.
Yeah.
So, but they kind of will go hand in hand depending on your immigrant experience as well. But
it's a double-edged sword.
Well, yeah,
that's the life that we lived. It was a struggle, but also at the same time, you're just so out of place at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, like you just felt like I don't even know if I'm in the right world. Like, I don't belong anywhere. There's nothing that represents me. I look different from everyone else, you know, and it's just like.
So tell me, how did we survive then? How did we get through all those years? And especially me, honestly, it was easy. I made straight A's from kindergarten through 12th grade. I knew how to work the system, but I looked at school as like a place where I can get away from the house, you know, or from the ghetto area, you know. So I did really well in that regard. But coming from an immigrant family like that, with being poor and with nothing like that, how did we survive all of that?
I think the secret that people don't know about Asians doing really well in school academically is because your mom and dad gonna kill you if you don't make straight A's. You know,
Yeah.
That's the real truth.
Actually.
They will kill you if you don't become a doctor, or lawyer. They will kill you, and unless you ran away or something like that. It's very family niche. That's one, but also at the same time, to be honest, like growing up, I was just excited for school because it was kind of like, something different. It was like I actually get to go to school and be around people and do activities and learn. And there's actually like school lunch was the best.
Yeah, that's what I look forward to. School lunch, school lunch was way better than what we had at home.
What we had at home was just like generic government food
stuff, or just bland whatever. I don't know.
We had food that you just don't buy at the store because it was like specifically government food, the big cheeses and all the different small canned juice drinks or whatever that we've collected, juicy juice.
They were like food shelter type food.
Yeah, like that's what we grew up on. That was our nutrition, But yeah, I mean, hey, that's the immigrant life. And then as you get older and you become, wiser and you become a teenager, and then you start to recognize and realize those kind of things, man. It just, unless you were just so focused on like your academics and doing good and trying to be something that your parents want you to become or whatever else, then that's when you got in trouble. That's why there was, and the thing is too, like, people are so sensitive about like racism these days. Like racism in the 90s was like way more hardcore. Like they would kick your ass physically just because you were a different race for no reason. They would just knock you out on the street or something like that just because you were a different race, and we used to go to war with everyone, all the time. Like we became gangsters, and our motto we would yell when we get into a fight was Asian pride.
Asian pride, bastards.
Yeah.
But then we go against other Asians too, the Vietnamese, the Cambodians, and just different. Everybody had their own cliques. But at the same time, I mean, that was the 90s era too, because it was like the gangster era,
gangster rap.
Yeah, culturally that was just the thing to do, because I think it was just, I don't know, everybody was heightened to a point where it was just like you had so many different cultures kind of blend in, and it was like everyone was just like, fuck it, like whatever happens. And I think that's what turned into this entire gangster era of rebellion, of claiming turfs and crime and drugs and all of that kind of stuff. And then it got to the point where people just kind of wised up from there, after the 90s.
Because internet was invented after that.
I know, now all
people
of us
didn't have to go outside and like entertain themselves anymore.
Why are we fighting each other? Damn, there's like internet. Like, I want to play some computer games.
I'm gonna call people racist online instead of do it in real life. I think one aspect of the immigrant piece, at least I think of, partly for myself, but also just maybe generally for all those that maybe feel like immigrants, is that there's a sense deeply embedded that you're always on the outside looking in. You understand that this isn't your country.
Wow.
You're born here. You're an American citizen. Like in Dragging the Bruce Lee story. You're an American citizen, but you're not American.
We want to have children someday.
They'll be American. Linda's American. I'm American.
You're an American citizen. You're not really an American.
No, I know that I'm an American. I know that I'm born here. I know that. And I'm American culture through and through. But this is probably more like the racial, ethnically disparity versus an immigrant type characteristic. But it's just the feeling that when people say you're marginalized, I don't mean that in the offensive way. I mean it just more like you do feel like you're just on the margins always. Mm-hmm. The story of race in America is about blacks and whites. It's about that struggle. So the immigrant experience always feels like you're sort of on the outside looking in. Now, we didn't have a loyalty back to some home country or whatever, but I'm sure there's some immigrants here today that may have that dualism of feeling like, do they really love America, or do they still love their home country? What does assimilation look like, or whatever? We didn't have an option. We had to assimilate. Like we didn't have any like heartfelt loyalties back to our home country or anything. Don't have a country. but because of that, feeling like you're always on the outside looking in, I noticed that a trait within the immigrant mentality is that if you don't really feel like you're part of it, then there's this mentality that like you do right by you and your family and your people.
Mm.
And you accept the notion that you're just swallowed up by this bigger entity that has unlimited funds, unlimited power. So you do you to get by. And there's whether that means like, because I know a very immigrant mentality in the elders is always like cut corners or, you know, they don't perhaps follow all the rules to a T on certain things because they just feel like they're just making it. They're
Yeah.
just making it by. And so they don't know the ramifications of certain things if they, you know, like, you know, they don't understand the concept of how serious the numbers need to be on my taxes or whatever. Because
Mhm.
it's like, oh, let's just cut corners, you know, like it doesn't matter. It's us and then that government there. And so if people, and that's hard to, that's so impossibly hard to understand or empathize with or feel if you've never been in that position, you know,
Mhm.
because I mean, but the only way I can look at it is if you just really plucked yourself out of your scenario, dropped yourself into some foreign country, and then just figured out how to make it, you know, and you're just kind of given some means, and you figure out how to make it. Only then will you feel like, yeah, you learn the language, you learn how things work there, but your real your real heart isn't there. You're just doing whatever rules that place does because that's what you're supposed to do to get by now. But you don't feel a true loyalty, like a true like, and it's not because you know love that country or whatever. Maybe you can say I'm appreciative of this country, whatever it is. But that's what it feels like to be displaced, though.
Yeah.
That's the whole sensation of what it means to be displaced. And so, you know, and it's relevant for a lot of the hot topic conversation today happening in Minnesota, the national spotlight for a lot of the immigrant Somali community right
Mhm.
now. That's the story there. And that's the sense I get from that. The sense that like there's a big demographic of people here who like are just here to do what it is they got to do to get by. And if it means taking more or doing whatever, it is what it is because there's not a true like, well, that's not right. There's a loyalty to sort of like doing right by the country or your fellow citizen, but there isn't that fellow citizen mentality in a lot of in certain immigrant populations.
Yeah.
And so there isn't that fellow citizen, you know. And even for me, it took a long time to understand what that fellow citizen meant, you know, like because we're just trying to make ends meet with our own little subculture here. And so wrestling with that fellow citizen mentality has always been difficult for like mom and dad, for these elderly immigrant communities. And so that's why they feel like if they need to cheat to get away with some to make theirs, you know, their ends meet, they'll do that. And that's not justifiable at all. But it's just like you always feel displaced.
Yeah.
And that's like, but you gotta figure it out. You
Yeah.
gotta figure it out though, because the common theme that people have been talking about this week with
Yeah.
immigrant is
Talk more on it.
is assimilate. Well, what's that mean though? Because I thought that's a fancy, or that's something I kind of pondered too, because with the Somali community being under fire right now for wide rampant misappropriation of funds to these communities, and they're so community knit and community based. And then, you know, you see documentary or footage of people going into these communities saying, you know, let's talk about things. And all of them are like, no, I don't speak English. And they're all insular, very insular.
Mhm.
That's the extreme version of that
Yeah.
lack of a fellow citizen type thing. So when someone says, if you're going to be critical and say, well, you know, there's this population of people here and they're misappropriating the funds or whatever, but even if they're not misappropriating funds, but they're just still using the funds,
Mhm.
but they're on welfare and they're still using the funds the way they're intended to be, what does assimilate mean?
Yeah.
You know, what does that mean? You know, like,
And when you said misappropriate the funds, you're probably speaking specifically regarding all the
all
controversy,
the
and the
recent
scams,
findings. Yeah.
the things that were coming up and so forth there, and the
Yeah.
fraud.
Tim Walz and all this stuff.
Oh,
That's
Tim
national
Walz.
headlines, man. It's
I mean,
kinda
for me,
crazy.
that's just straight theft. You know,
Yeah.
that's not even misappropriating funds. That's just them
Oh, yeah.
stealing and taking.
They
and
found a loophole.
and done
They
whatever.
allowed it to happen.
Yeah.
And it's just
That's what I mean by the extreme version of a true loyalty to something else that's not the entity that you currently actually live in.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm going to do right by either my family or my people or whatever. And so I don't know enough about the funds being remittances that are going overseas, but
me, I can't even hate on the Somalian community, you know, even regarding that, because honestly, it was given to them.
Yeah.
If it's gonna like, hey, I'm gonna set up this thing called Feed the Children, I'm gonna set up this thing that's gonna fix this or fix that, and then you have like the state going, oh, here's millions and millions of dollars, great. Do you need more? Okay, I'll take it. I think the big problem really is like we need to really take a closer look at exactly how state tax funding is really going into these communities. Like, and there's got to be a real investigation and holding people accountable. You know, if you were involved in that shit, you're either fucking deported or you're going to jail, you know? And we're talking about holding the real people who are involved with misappropriating that shit, you know? Because until that happens, then I feel like the Somalian community is going to take the blunt of the hit, and which is sad, you know, because you know, it's the old saying, like, shit always rolls downwards, you know, and that's the way nature goes. And it's unfortunate that, and the last thing I want happening is children in the Somalian community, especially because they're innocent. They're just trying to, like, we grew up in that immigrant life. They don't know what anything better. They're just trying to live like here, like anyone else. But they're gonna take the racial, you know, the racism and the hatred in that community simply because there were some bad apples, but also at the same time, it was the way the system fucked up, you know, of just handing money over and over again without having any accountability to it and just splurging on whatever the hell it is. And that's what's going to happen. And then I think that if whoever is involved with that all the way up to the top, it needs to have some real accountability and some real investigation to take place. And until that does happen, then yeah, like some people are gonna take the blunt, you know, and that's not fair, you know.
When this topic came up again, it's good because we're Minnesotans and it's good to know how our funds are being used. And it does strike a nerve in you to say, man, what the hell? Like, tax paying dollars are going to, and such a huge amount to just people's pockets. Like, it's just such a huge amount. It's not like, oh, $10,000.
$4 billion.
Yeah, it's like so much
so
money.
far.
Well, what I was going to say is it's such a tough thing to bring up because there's no good way to look at this. It's good that we're attacking it, but obviously it's going to bring in these concepts of hate and racial thing, and then the political agenda. Like, fraud should be addressed here, but then, like, naturally their defense mechanism for ever bringing this stuff up, which I've heard used, that if you attack this too much, it's a racial thing. But then why are we bringing that up? Like, these are the things that, like, are so wrapped up into all these things that there's not going to be a pretty way to talk about this except for calling out what it is, which is fraud, greed, and we don't know yet if it's simply oversight, lack of competency on the government side of the house, or if it's enablement, nefarious, you know, working alongside for the voter block type scenario.
But I think that's what needs to be fully investigated, and that needs to be made public, and accountability has to come to take place.
Yeah.
Like, forget the whole racial argument and the whole immigration argument. If you're here illegally, regardless of what racial background you are, you know, you gotta go. You know what I'm saying? If you broke the law and you stole money at taxpayer dollars, I don't care if you're part of the Somalian group that did it or if you're Tim Walz himself. You know, I mean, the whole talk was there was Minnesota State Department of Health Services made that public announcement and stated that, hey, we've been trying to tell the public this all the time. We're whistleblowing this. And we were actually, Tim Walz was actually attacking us for it, you know, and actually going after us and threatening us. Well, again, then I just say, okay, is that really valid? Is it true? Well, let's get a full investigation on it. And if that investigation does come true and there's going to be a trial, then people need to be held accountable. If Tim Walz needs to step down, or if he needs to go to prison because maybe he stole or whatever happens, then until that happens, I think like all we have to do is take the entire idea of race out of it and just uphold our laws. That's it. We have laws that are in place. We just uphold it. But we uphold the laws with a colorblind perspective.
Well, I think everybody who's wanting to prosecute this, they don't want anything with race. They're not making it a race thing. It's on the defensive side. That's sort of the shield and barrier that's sort of the first line of defense is to, let's not talk about this because it's so hard to levy accusations on a Black Somali community. It's just so hard to do that in the delicate realm. But that's why I think all this is sort of a byproduct of a perfect storm of things. My understanding was like when Walz came in office 2019, COVID hit, and with the COVID funds and a lot of these support funds given to governments, there was like $1 billion surplus in Minnesota's budget. It wasn't it wasn't a structural surplus. It's not like meaning Minnesota didn't raise the funds through their revenue and they were really good about spending. No, a lot of it was inflated through the surplus to support COVID.
Until 2020.
In the 2020s. Okay. So you got Governor Walz sitting here thinking, look at this, look at our balance. It's like a huge surplus. Like we could spend it on whatever. And then you're also in a climate of post-George Floyd, woke era, hyper extreme sensitivity to all things race. It's so difficult to talk about it and however you feel about it, but the whole narrative of the diversity, equity, inclusion ran rampant across corporate lines, across the narrative of everything. And so you add that into the mix of the sensitivity behind the ability to even address the racial things or whatever. So it enabled perhaps a community of people that gave them a sense of immunity. Like, we can kind of get away and do it tactfully. We're not going to take all the money at first. You know, you do it little by little. And then you see how much you can get away with because you're sort of immune from criticism because of the climate, the enabling climate that was everything's quiet. Nobody needs to know. Things are just approved. We got a lot of surplus. This has sort of now become the voter block for Tim Walz that sort of enabled all this to happen. And that was sort of the general sentiment. And it doesn't take a lot of evil planning to come up with this. A lot of that just sort of happened organically. Like the climate of the sensitivity to racial things post George Floyd, that just came naturally. So you get caught up in that wave of what I mean is the wave of downtown Minneapolis running rampant with just people doing whatever they want. And you just kind of have to let things go. There's a sort of a passiveness. You caught up in the wave of that. So of course there's a passiveness in the allocation of funds and how they're being used. So that's the way, so you have that perfect storm of those things that are happening, surplus of funds and all that. But a big contributor to it is just the general worker bee at these government type jobs. I give kudos to this group because they actually were the ones that raised this up at first to Tim Walz. When Tim Walz didn't do anything about it, so they raised it again. For the most part, but the people who are overseeing these contracts, the people that are on the front ends to say sort of like, we approve this contract, or meaning how did it even get to the point where it was so rampant that they brought it up? Like there's a general people put in positions, contract reviewers, people who are internal auditors, people who are supposed to just know that, hey, they're charging us this month. They said they served 100,000 meals at Future or Feed Our Future. Like it just doesn't ring with people. They're just approving stuff. Like there's just this whole glut of just vanilla, well-meaning to do people in government, higher ed or whatever, that just kind of go with the flow of the job. Like it shouldn't have gone so rampant.
What do you think that is though? Like, do you think it's a case of, hey, we gotta use these funds or else we won't get enough funds for next year type of deal, or is that mixed in with the surplus of it, or I mean, or was it just money that was just kind of like, yeah, we got the money here. Oh, feeding our future, that's a great year. Just take it, like, do they actually go to the sites and look and check?
That's the thing. Yes. And I don't know all the inner workings of it, but I do know enough. I've spent some time in the county, Hennepin County here. I know the inner workings of just like government higher ed structure of just the funding aspect. And it's through you propose a nonprofit, a service to the community. You have your mission statement, your agenda. What are you going to achieve? Blah, blah, blah. Why should you be funded? You have that. You establish your 501c nonprofit, whatever organization. And then the government, if you get approved, gives you a contract. Let's say we're going to give you $100,000 for this first year, and you're going to achieve these goals, right? That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to achieve those goals and whatnot. But I mean, the people that review that first contract, why is it $100,000? Like in the corporate world, you got to be cutthroat. In the private sector, you got to be cutthroat. You have to justify every dollar sort of mentality. This is just like a laissez-faire, like kind of open-ended. 100,000 seems kind of right. What are you going to do? Feed people? Where? Okay. Like how much rigor was there put in justifying this?
Yeah.
Number two, now that you got it approved, you're getting your allocation, 100,000 broken up. And then what they do is they spend and then they bill the government. They say, hey, these are our receipts. We bill them. There's not really that much oversight to really look into what's happening. Meaning this stuff has had to happen for a long time before someone finally noticed. Like, why did it take so long for people to realize, hey, this autism center, bought a new Tesla or something, or they bought a new, like the things that they're using the money on. There's no real system. There's like a very loose, not a very stringent type way
but
of
that's
managing
what also
money.
pisses me off, though. It's the fact that it can get away, go through all of that. But then when you do find it and you catch it and say, oh, this is fraud, you'll bring it up and it's like, oh, no, we don't touch those. Those are good to go. Just let it go through. We're not going to say anything. But for it to be for political gain or something like that, that is very nefarious. That's kind of fucked up.
It's already bad that it's happening. In the immigrant group mentality is to think, if I'm here, it's sort of like free money. If they're going to be so incompetent to give it to me, might as well just keep doing it then.
Yeah.
And if they're not going to check on us, then it's sort of like,
I'm gonna ask for
I
more
have to
next
do right by us. That's sort of that mentality.
But you think about it, just human instincts. You're an immigrant that came into this country. You got to figure out how to survive. There's a huge community of children and old people who are struggling. And here's people going, here's millions of dollars. And you don't know any better. You don't know the laws. You don't know how the inner workings of how the government and taxpayer and all that kind of stuff. You just got here. You know what I'm saying? You're just like, I'm just trying to figure it out. Well, but here's a lot of money. Here's a whole lot of money to do all these pet projects that you need to do. Oh, okay, great. Let me have the money. Oh, what can I use this money for? I can do a lot of things with this money. Like, this is so easy. This is the perfect life. Of course you're going to take advantage of it. Of course you're going to be like, and sometimes the point, like, is this legal? Is this okay? Well, it's working and they're giving us more money, of course, then that's why I can't even hate on the Somali community and how it goes.
I can. They still took
you can't even
our
look
tax
at
dollars.
I don't know enough about the inner workings of the details, though. Like, I know that they were. So right now, for feeding our future, that trial happened. And a lot of people, like 50 plus, were convicted of something. Some charges have already been made and sentences have been given already for a couple of. So there's justice being had for that right now. One person, one of the ringleaders of it, 20 some plus years sentence, which, deservedly so.
There was one that got reversed,
Yeah, I didn't know about that.
Well, they got convicted. Jury found them guilty and they did all the stuff, but the judge came back and said, no, I'm going to reverse that and give it back. That's like, why?
This is where it raises the other questions about the nefarious, because it's like it's sort of nefarious in and of itself if a community becomes sort of a leech and does unethical things to make money. And then it becomes even more nefarious when you have enabling actors that are aware of it, that want it to be that way in exchange for, the voting
Absolutely.
block. So I don't know enough about all those.
But I mean, just look at it logically, though. We're not talking about like hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're not even talking about millions. We're talking about $1 billion plus. $1 billion plus. So you would imagine that is not the resort of 5 bad actors.
I know.
You got to imagine there's a lot of people that were involved in that. I'd have to go back and look at the research to see exactly how many people have actually been, caught and sentenced and on trial and arrested for something like this. But like it takes a lot. It takes a community of people who know exactly what's going on, but they don't care. And then a lot of people would just say, "Give me the handout," and to actually impact $1 billion of fraud, of waste, of negligence, of all of that. That's a lot of money being accounted for, being shipped back to Somalia, ending up in different countries and so forth there. And again, we're not even close to scratching the surface of exactly all the people that
even
are
more
involved.
that hasn't even been.
Yeah.
Because the ones I think that they've been highlighting is primarily the ones that are coming from that funding source, State Department. But, I'm familiar with, like, there's Hennepin County, Ramsey County level programs, funds, lots of, might not be close to the billions, but still hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars, even in that level. These are like our property tax dollars that we pay every year. That's what.
Why do we even pay taxes then?
Our property taxes, which
like,
are going up, right?
No, it's going up. We don't even know where it's going. Now it's stolen. It's like, give me my money
when
back then.
So when the average Minnesotan gets notification, your property taxes are going up. Doesn't that that pisses you the hell off even more in light of everything, obviously.
It's bad on both sides.
And that's why this has really opened itself up to the bigger overarching debate of immigration. And what that really starts to look like is one side you're looking at, well, what we're doing is humanitarian work. We're helping people from around the world and supporting because they're going through all the things that they're going through. And America is the open hand to say, come to here, we'll take care of you, we'll help, and we'll support you. It's a humanitarian perspective. And then the other side of the debate is like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, we're struggling. Our U.S. citizens, like, inflation is higher than it's ever been. We have a $38 trillion deficit right now, We're barely able to do anything ourselves and take care of stuff. We're getting taxed to death. Maybe right now is not the best time of flowing a bunch of immigrants back in. Yeah, we want to do humanitarian things, but it's like immigration works great when the country's flourishing, when everybody's doing well, when the middle class has been risen up, when everybody's living on a higher standard of living. Yeah. And then it's kind of like, we have plenty that we can open
a certain amount
doors.
Of immigration is actually healthy for your country, if your country's doing well too.
And then the objective then leans into like, okay, well, we want immigration, but we want the best people in the world. We want the smart people. We want people to come here to study here and stay here in the U.S., to create companies, to create jobs, to innovate the future of the U.S. And that's the only kind of immigration we should be focused on, because we're on a directed to try and make this the best country possible. We don't want people from shithole countries. That's the saying, those shithole countries, like
that's what people are saying.
Yeah. So like that's the big debate that's going on right now, because it's kind of like, no, like you can call those shithole countries, but we're doing humanitarian work. They deserve humanity. They deserve support. They deserve a life. We're trying to help them out. You don't leave people out in the cold to die on the streets. No, we bring them into the house to help them, and that's the big immigration debate now. And then you add this on top of the fact that, there's been how many people have crossed the border illegally over the past, 4 years. And then you go into the fact of like, shit, everybody was criticizing Doge and Elon Musk when they opened the books up on the federal government. Look what's happening at the state and local level. Then you have this amount of fraud where billions of taxpayer dollars are being funneled into this, where people are even struggling to this day. The middle class is shrinking. So then now it's kind of like, not only did we open our doors, but you're stealing from us, like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, I opened the door and gave you a bed and gave you a room, and I wake up and you stole everything from my safe, like everything's gone. So like where do you go from here? You know, like and it's only making the tensions worse and worse.
Yep.
Where I disagree with is I also believe that here in the US, if you're here now as a citizen, what's very unique and why America works so well in regards to humanitarian work and bringing people in is because our freedoms and our Bill of Rights like protect us from those means.
Yeah.
And most importantly, we're looked at as individuals. And that's the way I would hope that the country would take a perspective when it comes to immigrants too as well, whether if it's the ICE raids, whether if it's this fraud or the large amounts of immigrants that are coming in. We also have to take an approach where every person needs to be looked at on an individual basis, which will prevent the overlap of racism that's now being brought up. Now, like people are going to have a very, very strong feeling, even, you know, intentional or non-intentional, when they see a huge community of Somalian people.
Yeah.
You know,
they're gonna have a visceral reaction.
It's going to be a visceral reaction on it. It's automatic.
Yeah.
You know, and especially if you see them and they're driving like a really nice car, and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I'm struggling. You know what I'm saying? Where did you get that nice car? And you're going to be, it's almost a racist, you know, connotation.
You're making unfair assessments off the bat because you're compelled to, because of what's happened and et cetera. Yeah.
And that's the way it's the communities are going to react and happen. And the challenging part too, as well, is again, in my same saying, like shit always rolls downwards, is like, we take in a huge population of Somalian people who are really just refugees escaping whatever they're going through in their country.
Stuff,
They come here to Minnesota. It's not like they got a place to stay in like Edina, you know, or like in Minnetonka or somewhere in Wayzata in these multi-million-dollar communities. No, they put them in the shittiest communities with people who are already struggling.
Yeah.
In those communities who are already like, you know, we can barely even get by. You know, we're barely even getting by on the groceries. We're barely getting by to pay our mortgage. You know, the value of our community and our homes are dropping. You know, our schools are getting worse. But yet you're going to dump in a gigantic community of foreigners into our lands too. And now we have to acclimate and figure out how to live amongst each other, because it's never going to go the other way. You know, it'd be a different story if this entire community of new immigrants, whether for Somalian or Hmong people or whoever, you know, just suddenly gets dropped into these rich neighborhoods. Why don't they take them on? You know what I'm saying? That's not going to happen. So you're already like putting a community that's already at a lot of pressure, and you're making them having to deal with it, you know, and you're making them going, hey, you know what?
That was currently existing, already struggling with making ends meet. Yeah.
You deal with it. You know, here's 10,000 new people that we're just going to drop. And again, those people, they're going to have tons of babies too. They're going to
compete for with housing availability, subsidized housing that you'll compete for with all types of things, you know, and that you'll wait in line for.
And guess what? These people, you know what? They need healthcare. They need education. They need services. Sorry, we're going to have to keep taxing them because they can't really, I mean, they just got here. They're trying to figure their way out. So you guys are going to have to pay a lot of taxes because they're in your communities. You know what I'm saying? So your schools are going to grow with a lot more students. So we need to fund the programs and the services for, so we're going to continue taxing those communities and so forth. So it makes it harder for those communities too as well. So, and again, like you can't look at, there's no good guy or bad guy in these kind of scenarios. If I had to say it, it would be
a matter of fact. I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's just a matter of fact. If I had to say it was a bad guy, it's the dumbass people who are at the top who are making these kind of decisions and then virtue signaling the community and saying you got to do this and you got to do that, and we're diversity. For diversity, and we're gonna take your money, you know, and tax the hell out of you guys too as well. I think there's an issue with that, and we gotta, I don't know, as a community come together to figure out exactly, okay, what's good immigration at what level, and how do we manage this, you know, reasonably, you know?
Whether you're pro or against, like I said, pro against immigration reform, pro against more open-ended immigration, the question still goes back to what we were talking about earlier. There's a lot of talk about it, but do people really understand the immigrant story? So like, understand it first before people dive into making broad statements about what should and should be done about immigration, you know. And
what about the illegals though?
So that's a whole nother thing though.
Yeah, but I mean, if they're here illegally, then just uphold the laws. You know, they can't be here. You know, the same way that if I just went up to Canada and decided I'm just gonna stay here as long as I want, eventually I'm gonna get caught and they're gonna go get your ass out. You know, like any country has their borders and their process of that. You know,
First, get to know what an immigrant experience is, but secondly, sorry. But secondly, there really is never a discussion about post-immigration, meaning we talked about the Somali community, a lot of been critical about not only the fact that they're taking this amount of money, but number two, that they're misusing it, stealing it. But number three, that their community in a very general way has been just so insular, meaning whether you're here legally or not, maybe a lot of them are illegal, maybe a lot of the visas are fake, but let's just assume they're all legal and they're taking the money and they're benefiting, but they're so insular and tight woven. And what if we knew blatantly that their position was, we're going to obey your laws, we're appreciative that we're here, we obey all the laws, but we're never going to like adopt that, what you were talking about earlier, the American core values of individual liberty, of respecting that as a value, American as a country. You don't have to be like, hurrah, I love America, but there's the fellow American citizen mentality is that you still do right by the spirit of the Constitution. You still, but what if there's communities of immigrants here that
they don't share patriotism?
Yeah, they don't. And they don't have to. Again, they don't have to do the celebration of it. But they don't. But they almost like don't give a crap about. Like it's so not even in their vicinity. It's about doing right by them, but obeying the laws.
Yeah,
So continue to milk the system. Maybe continue to do this, get their way, but be insular. Not so people who are pro-immigration and they realize if that's happening, what is their like way of. Because that's the word that people are saying, assimilate or go home, or like what assimilate. We did the process of assimilating without knowing it. So it's hard for us to even talk about what that might look like, but still, what's the expectation of assimilation? Like if we were to say Somali, assimilate, or like what's this? Assimilate almost sounds very fascist. Like
I think like maybe the first level is learn English, things like that. Like you got to be able to speak English if you want to live in the society amongst us and so forth. And then there's probably a bunch of other set rules and understandings of law and feeling the sense of patriotism. I say to a certain degree, I understand that position. You come here to America, people have opened the country up to supporting you guys. We all put money into a pot to make sure that you guys are living your life and are able to survive and make it out. We wouldn't let people starve or die or on the street and so forth there. We're in this together, here in this country. But I also look at it also from the other view too. Like, I don't really give a fuck either. It's almost like if we want these people to assimilate, like we got to provide them the culture that they would want to adapt, and it's got to be a culture of inclusion. It's got to be a culture of the future, of something that they can look at us and go, not only do we want to assimilate, we want to be a part of that. We want to be a part of this American dream, of this American culture, of whatever they're driving. And I think moreover we should focus more on that side of the house rather than forcing people down that road, because for the longest time that's what immigrants had to do and figure out anyways. But at the same time, there's a lot of immigrants who just are very happy within their own small circle. It's not the fact that they don't respect or appreciate, our laws and the country and what they've done and what the country has done for them. Absolutely. But also at the same time, they have their own cultures, their beliefs, their religions, and their so forth. And they'd rather just kind of stay within their communities and grow it. I've seen a lot of community. I mean, you just go to California, and there's a Chinatown, a Korean town, there's a Vietnamese hood, there's a Cambodian hood, there's the whole entire California is Mexican, it's just Mexican part two, and then there's all those cultures into one gigantic melting pot, and everybody kind of stays within their own cultures, but they also appreciate each other's differences at the same time. But no one's really demanding to say, because I don't even know, I can't put my finger on what it would mean to, and I'm speaking as a native born here in the U.S., as a U.S. citizen, but also a second generation when it comes to immigration and our parents being refugees. I would have to sum up American culture into a couple of things. It would be consumption. and religion. You know, like that's what it is. That's American
Consumerism and religion.
consumerism and religion. It's what you believe, and then buy all the shit.
Mm.
And that's kind of what America's been as far as their culture has been. A lot of everything, or even our traditions, are built around the idea of consumption. You know, just being a consumer. Like holidays around the season. You know, it's like, yeah, there's something deeper, and there's something valued in regards to maybe some of the religious aspects and some of those traditions. But all of it at the end of the day is just buy a bunch of shit, you know, and eat a bunch of good food and so forth. There, so then it's kind of like, okay, then I demand you to assimilate. Like I don't even know what that means now, you know, because I don't know what that means in American culture, you know.
Well,
like if I was in China, it'd be different. Maybe China has all their very Chinese culture, you know. You gotta be Chinese,
And
you
it's
know
like
what I'm saying?
government driven too. So.
Yeah, it's government driven, you know.
Well, that's why it's a fascinating topic. Meaning, when I first heard some of the rhetoric that was being tossed back and forth about the reactions to this is national news now about Minnesota being on the map because of it. But yeah, some of the voices were like, "Well, there's a responsibility to assimilate, or you need to assimilate," you know. But to your point, like, it doesn't mean you have to. Does it mean you have to negate your culture or love the American culture? And I don't think that's the case.
No,
But
it's
if
just
you-
freedoms. That's the American culture. It's you have the rights and the freedom to do what you want and not get, you know, in trouble for it for the most part. And that's what I see of American culture. But you're right though, assimilating to that. How would you assimilate to that?
What's the degree? And I'm sure there's a large spectrum because it can sound very like fascist. You need to look like us, talk like us. I don't think that may encapsulate assimilate, because it's not about you need to negate your culture and love American culture. But I think there's the part of assimilation where it's like you have a shared responsibility to the country now. And if you view like your presence here is like, I'm just here to get mine because the government's getting, and I'll just do whatever I can just to not get in trouble. But really it's kind of just like, fuck your couch, you know, like, look, I don't give a shit about this place as long as I get mine. That's that attitude is very prevalent. And so it doesn't mean like negate your culture and you need language is one part of it, you know. But it's beyond just language, because you brought up good examples of like there's very heavily concentrated cultures or pockets of cultures like your Koreatown, like your Chinatown. So how's that any different? And there's some pockets like the Somali community right now. We live in this space where it is like its own community. It's called little Somalia. Like it's and when folks go through it or talk through it, it's just everybody's so insular, not even they're not engaging in like in commerce or anything with people, you know, perhaps, you know, like, you know, you would find at a Chinatown or what have you. But it's more just like people are doing them. They only want to talk to their own selves. If a lot of folks say we don't speak English, they're just not engaging at all. Yeah. So,
and it's also frightening when the population is growing at an exponential rate
it's
too.
Growing huge.
Like it's huge.
Yeah.
So it's expanding. I mean,
it's incredibly insular, which I understand the mentality as a displaced people coming into this and, you know, doing right by you and your people. But so what does assimilate encapsulate? Culture?
Assimilate encapsulates you have to work to pay taxes, but buy shit. That's it. Like you were saying, that's assimilation of the U.S. culture.
Right. It just boils down to that, right?
It boils down to you working,
pay
paying
taxes,
and then you just sit at home and buy shit for your family.
Keep your culture, keep your language.
That's pretty much the American dream, as long as you're working and paying taxes, because you're putting money back into. True. But you get the people that come here, they can't do anything. They don't speak English. They're getting help from the government.
They're the opposite.
Other people are helping them to survive and live, but they're not assimilating in regards to
sharing that responsibility.
Yeah, paying
taxes.
Paying their taxes too. That's, I guess that boils down to that.
And that's the challenge, because I think a lot of the American citizens who are here who are fed up with this shit and they're talking about the assimilation. Part of it is also there's an extended responsibility and a duty as citizens, and that's to figure out the direction of where our country wants to go. Because I think everybody's waking up to this. Everyone's saying so they're paying so much attention to exactly what the what's going on. And if you don't care and you're just kind of here and you don't really even care to learn the language and you are just kind of in your own bubble, living in your own communities and stuff like that, where we're all having to support that to a certain degree, but yet you can be easily influenced to a certain, direction and so forth there, then it's kind of like, well, all of us are trying to figure out exactly the direction of the country. Where do we want to go? Like how do we want the US to be on the world front? And where do we want the future to look like, And if that's the case, then like, why would these people care to vote unless they're just being given, like something in return? Because they really don't even understand exactly
like why
care.
Yeah. What am I voting for?
But they're
what
just
am I
told to do. If
they're
you
just-
vote, then we'll give you more
money and we'll give you this and give you that and just vote for us without really understanding the implications of exactly, your true motives of where you want to be as a country, as a whole, as a community, and I guess that's part of the American culture too, as well, is we're all fighting each other to be the best righteous and understanding society that there is to the next level of human spirituality or whatever you want to call it. And that guiding principle is built on our religious beliefs. It's built on our traditions, but also is built on the power system of the politics, and we each have a sense of duty almost, or responsibility to drive that into a certain direction. And if you got just a whole shit ton of people now who are here and just randomly who can sway that really doesn't have, how do I put, a dog in the fight, they're just like, I don't care, just give me more money.
Skin in the game.
Yeah, they have no skin in the game at all.
No.
Then what happens?
And
it messes everything
their
up.
vote's just as important as your vote.
Exactly. It's not like your vote values more. It's everything's 1-to-1. So I can understand that that's another huge piece of people here too, trying to figure things out.
And then when shit happens with that too, if they are here, let's just say legally, or if they are here legally, but they're not contributing anything, but now they're doing murders or they're doing bad shit or shit happens
and crimes.
That's when you can point the finger and say they're not even supposed to be here, if they're illegal, and then this shit happens, this could have been avoided or whatnot. So that conversation comes into the play of immigrants too.
It could be absolutely avoided, because if they're not even supposed to be here, then that's absolutely 100% avoidable,
Yeah, and I just think there's a mentality, especially if you're not supposed to be here, that you're already sort of in a place that you're not either supposed to be or not really your true home country, not your place you call home. That displaced mentality, I think, usually opens the door to feel like it's more sensible to just like get to do whatever you want, rape a girl, do whatever, because I'm already sort of like not home anyways. I have no loyalties to the governing structure here. I'm just gonna do right by me and get away with it. And I don't understand the governing structures here. So if that girl over there looks pretty, I'm just gonna do me. Like that's the displaced mentality too. If there's no sense of belonging eventually, or having a path to belong to this place that you call home, it's supposed to be your home, really, your country. And without that, then there's this mentality that's just, you have to be sort of your own outlaw. You're your own outlaw. And I think you'd feel the same way if you were just plucked and dropped into a random country where you just have to learn on the fly what the norms are, learn what the rules are. You're going to just maybe feel like you're your own outlaw, that you just have to get by. You don't even understand the rules of the country. You have to learn them, but you don't understand why that's the case. You may disagree with a lot of them, but you just have to work at it and make ends meet. And so you probably have that mentality too, of just like, I'm just going to do right or good enough to just get by and not get noticed or whatever, you just don't want to be on anyone's radar. You just kind of want to get by. And if you can collect a lot of money, the system milks a lot of money your way. All you want to do is just not be on the radar. Yeah. And that's the sad truth of it all. Like you mentioned earlier, like it's hard, you take an approach where like if a government is so stupid or evil to sort of enable all this and to provide all that, like if you're a displaced community like Somalia, the Somalians, then like it's hard to be upset with them about that sometimes too. So I get that, with the few bad actors, but I think it really got it like I get that to a point, but then it got worse when You guys heard about all the bribing of the jurors that happened?
I heard
last
something
year?
a bit about
Bribing of the jurors.
Feeding. So this is what feeds into the vitriol and to the
Oh, it gets uglier.
yeah, it gets uglier because that's so to your point of I can identify with the displaced immigrant who's just making if the government's giving me money, man, that's on you guys. So there's truth. But it's so but the greed and the rampant just money hoarding is so nasty because when Feeding Our Future was on trial last year, they had a jury, and this is when they were first discovering all these things being prosecuted about misusing funds and blah, blah, blah. And there's a jury there, and there's a Somalian lady, I forget her first name, it's like Adin Muhammad Ali or something. I'll try to remember her name, but she had a bag of about $120,000. Well, I think she was given like $200,000. She kept like 80 for herself because she was assigned to sort of do this role. And so she had a bag of $120,000 and left it at one of the jurors. They were able to identify one of the jurors and left it at the juror's house. Wrote a note saying there's more where this came from. You know,
How come I don't get opportunities like that?
it's just so crazy. It gives you an insider look to the mentality of like we're doing whatever we can to just do right by us. Like even if we'll go to any extent. Like it's just so like not only you know that you got caught in this whole scam and stuff, now you're just doing everything you can to buy your way out and just
You're competent of your wrongdoings. You know, it's not like you were dumb and things happen. No, you're very well competent in doing it to figure out how to try and slide your way out of shit too as well when shit gets hard.
And just thinking that you can just throw money around because that's how you guys value money. You have so much of it now.
Yeah.
And you think you just throw money around and buy people's loyalty. And the juror they selected was a younger person of color. I don't know if it was.
So did the juror do it? Ooh, I hope you did. Keep quiet. You got caught, or the juror like reported? Yeah.
No, I think it was a female. I think she did report it. She called.
Good for her.
Yeah, so good for her. And she reported it.
That's a rarity to find these days. She deserves a medal or something. We should all know her name. That's sad, you know, because that's an amazing thing for
I think it
some
might
people.
actually be anonymous for a reason too, you know, because it might make her a target too. But anyways, but still, kudos to her. But yeah, so they report, but that gives you that insider look again about just the degree of just degenerative behavior, just sort of this carelessness of money, of handling money, just carelessness of justice, duty, carelessness of even that you just buy your way out. That's where it gets too difficult to manage with this community getting larger and then with this sense of like, well, if anything's said, you know, you have to be sensitive about that too. But it's more about the property taxes going up and all that mixed with all that. That's the tough part to navigate all that. That's why when the news dropped about all this, it's just like, there's no way to really navigate this, you know, without calling out the ugly for what it is, the ugliness that is, while trying to identify it as with immigrant mentality too.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I don't know.
You know, I get what you're saying too as well when you were mentioning, you know, the assimilation part and, you know, trying to figure out, you know, what our responsibilities and duties as citizens as well as immigration goes. I think part of it really is also, you know, just I understand the sense of patriotism now, and I understand the sense of pride, or maybe nationalism even, you know, because it's like you take that ownership and you take that pride that you're calling the U.S., this country, your home. It's not an Airbnb. It's not a partially rental place that you're just staying at temporarily and you're leaving. No, this is home, you know? And when you take that on that responsibility and you take that vow, then you take care of home, you know, like, and that's where I think the direction of the country is really taking a cold, hard look at it. And they're going, we need to take care of ourselves. We need to take care of the citizens. We need to take care of this country. We need to fix all the wrongs and make right. You know, it's like when you own a home, you clean that shit. You know, you take care of you take out the trash, you know, you fix the bed, you know, you wash the floors, you know. It's only when you don't care and you don't have that sense of ownership that you don't give a shit. You stay at an Airbnb, it's just like, fuck it, I'll shit on the floor. You know what I'm saying? It's like
no skin in the game.
there's no
It's back
skin in
to
the
that.
game. Yeah. You know, so I think that's part of the culture of where it's leaning towards too as well. And I think that's where a lot of us US citizens are really looking at this entire big picture with all the scamming and all the shit that's going on. And they're going like, nah, like we need to do better. We got to take care of each other right now, you know, because right now shit is hard and shit is dirty, you know, and things are bad, you know, for the country. And why are we importing so many people who don't give a shit, you know, who really doesn't care, who would rather scam the system right now? And again, it's so difficult because it's like, you can't even speak in these terms because you got to look at everybody as an individual and you can't look at an entire culture or an entire group of people. And that's where all the idea of racism goes in.
Yeah, no.
But okay, then let's just look at the idea of just immigration itself. I don't care what color skin you have or what country you came from. You know, like, do you want to be here?
Yeah.
And do you take a sense of pride of calling this your home now? And I think immigration from the past has always been that kind of sense of duty where people, they are fresh off the boat, you know, and they see, you know, the Statue of Liberty and they look at the country and they go, wow, like this is America. Like dad always calls America, they chill about me, you know, he always says that, you know, and it's just like,
which translates to what?
Translates to like country of great value or great wealth, you know,
great opportunity.
Exactly, great opportunity. And you look at dad as an immigrant, you know, when he came into this country, like he never complained. I mean, we had government assistance, but we never were given these big handouts. We never got anything back. Dad never missed a single day of work, and he was there early every single day. He worked his full shifts. We never saw him, and he never complained about the white man and said, "Oh yeah, this." No, he just said, "Hey kids, I can tell you right now, education is the key."
Yeah, your ass better do good.
You better do good.
Pretty much the nail.
You failed in school, you're out of the house. You know, like I disown you. You know, that's all it really was. Because he in his head felt like education was the key to unlocking the wealth of this country, and that's what he thought. Because that's what he believed. Everybody, his superiors that he worked for, had higher education than him, and he thought that this is the key to prosperity here in this country.
And naturally, language, along with education, your education system, language, that is a part of assimilation.
Yeah.
There's probably a longing for that sort of assimilation. I know mom has had that. She's always wanted to develop better grasp at English, and you know, and so that's a natural part of what assimilation might mean too. With that, the whole like dad wanting that assimilation, that education is the pathway. Otherwise, you're going to be doing menial work, menial labor. You have to be educated to sort of open pathways, and language is a part of that too. And
yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know at what point, you know, that we look at our immigration system honestly, and we approach it in the best way where it's still a humanitarian perspective of supporting people who really need it, you know, but also at the same time look at it and go like we're all fucking broke right now. We gotta do us. Until we figure out how to do us and do what's right by us, then it's really challenging to help others, you know. I don't know what that balance is. And I don't know. The only thing I would hope that doesn't happen is that, you know, a race war does happen and a lot of people get hurt. A lot of innocent
race war is just a distraction then. That's really, I think it is. I don't think, yeah, and that's why it's so hard not to racialize the conversation, because perhaps it was born in a time when you couldn't mention race about anything. Like you again, there was a sort of a cloak of immunity post George Floyd about the nature of certain sensitivities towards marginalized people of color, primarily Black people. And so it was probably born out of that. But now it's like, this, don't racialize this. This is fraud. And I think that's the general sentiment too.
Yeah.
I think there's already been some sort of fighting back with even the mayor of Minneapolis about defending the immigrants and saying defending our community. And
was it Jacob Fry?
Yeah, Jacob Fry. And then Ilhan
Omar.
Yeah. There's a sense of already pushback of like making it like this is not about attacking the Somalian community and the race, or making it a race thing, or sort of. which is again, I think it's the deflecting it. It's the not taking the share of responsibility there. Because to your point earlier, you mentioned about the whole skin in the game. If the immigrant mentality sometimes feels as though you're just trying to make ends meet, your vote, what does that matter for? You're not really sure because this is in your true home, that you don't really know what the skin in the game looks like. But I think the only thing for the Somali community, at least, that would counter that is that you do have someone who holds office that represents very much your community. So there is a sense of skin in the game and responsibility to the country with Ilhan Omar. So there's a sense of like, we ought to know the skin in the game. We're in the game.
How did she become so rich, though?
I don't know.
But maybe the community's just looking at
I don't know.
But maybe the community's just looking at Ilmar, just be like, shh, we got someone in the ends, you know, keep feeding us the good stuff. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I mean.
That's
It's Ilhan Omar.
I don't know.
Omar.
It's an opening of a lot of nasty can of worms, but it's long overdue. Because I've been aware of a lot of this for a while now, for a long time. But it's more so the fact that it's only recently gotten to national attention, but it's just like Minnesota is always coming up to the national headlines for bad reasons. And it's always that Tim Walz, always has to do with him. Something with
Tim Walz.
Something's going to tie back to him somehow. I still wonder, like, why was Tim Walz selected as VP, right? There's something about his role and somehow his mastery of this game. Like, I know the system, guys, the whole immigration system, blah, blah, blah. Like, why would you choose this guy as your, unless he deeply embodied something systemic that he was going to use and apply at that level? Because I think that's perhaps the whole open borders during the Biden administration was sort of already in that motif. That's what's happening. So he's one of our guys in the end. He's one of our enablers that, I don't know. Like
I don't
why
see him
was
as that. According to Kamala, he was the white male counterpart of Kamala Harris and stuff like that. But in regards to him knowing it all, I don't know if he knows it all. Like, he's not, to me, he's not all there. Like,
you'd be surprised though.
I mean, unless it's an act that he's doing. But like, even when they asked him the question on whatever TV show, like, do you take full responsibility of everything that's happened? Like, he couldn't even give a straight answer of, yeah, I'll take full responsibility. It was under my watch. Won't happen again. We got this and doing that. He didn't even answer the question. He just outright went into a long rant and then, Donald Trump is not going to do anything about this.
In a hot seat. That's why. That's what you do in the hot seat. You deflect.
You're in the hot
and
seat, but
then it everywhere else. You don't take responsibility because the second you do, then you admit it. And when you admit it, then the whole shit comes flying down on you.
But why haven't you done anything? Especially finding out that he was told about this many years ago about this shit happening, and he turned the cheek, or he just denied it and said, hey, no, just let it go through. But now he's coming through saying, oh yeah, we're gonna put these people in prison. I don't care about your race and your religion. But
he said that? I don't know.
Yeah, he said that. It's like
stuff like that.
Because he came out and said that and said, we welcome anybody who can help us out with this too. But I don't want anybody on the sidelines, like, putting accusations to anything like that. And it's like, it's a little late there. You should have been doing this like years ago before you even got to $1 billion.
Because it's too late, because it's already been exposed that the group of Department of Human Services workers brought this to your attention, and
you did all you can
to quiet them.
Yeah,
so there's no way you can sort of pose as this character now that's trying to do right by the situation, unless you have to create some sort of great reason for why that was the case. That a lot of this was on your watch. A lot of this was denied for the longest time by you, so it was on your radar. And now you're sort of saying, trying to make right by it now.
Yeah, and he can propose negligence, act like he didn't know. But the thing is that there's evidence that he knew exactly what was going on, and he intentionally were trying to shut down the whistleblowers that were trying to raise awareness to this. You know, which means that you knew something. Yeah. So I mean, how do you backtrack on that? And I want to hear what he wants to respond to that.
Yeah, unless there was a reason he needed this to happen. Maybe he's getting a cut out of it, all allegations or anything. But that's why I want them to do the investigation as to why he didn't do anything about it. And now that it's on the front pages everywhere, now it's like, oh shit, I got to cover myself. Or it's either that, like they always put the argument, he's either incompetent or complicit with it, you know? So maybe there's a little bit of both in there, but either way, I hate the text that his team sends to me anyways.
Yeah.
Oh, this is Tim Walz here. Send me donations. I'm so sick and tired of Tim Walz, man. I need him to, like you said, we need to do better. You know, government needs to do better for this shit not to happen.
And this stuff permeates every facet of everything we've been talking about. So even before we started this session, we're talking about how, like, man, yeah, the energy drink was like $4 an hour, the apple juice like $3.70 something. Well, why don't stores charge? Of course they want to charge that much if a shit ton of people have these cards that they swipe and they have like unlimited money, like unlimited cash money, either cash EBT or SNAP EBT. So even if they don't get the cash side, they'll have the food stamp. So it's like, it's going to refresh every month. So of course you can charge that much. So that's the stuff that like ripples down to all aspects of. That's why food. I think at least I don't know that for a fact. I'm just theorizing that's the case. But
no,
there's
there's a correlation to it. It's you would have to imagine that if EBT and government funded money for groceries are there, and that's guaranteed money
in huge amounts, not
huge
like
amounts.
A very rationed out amount.
Yeah,
like in just like a big number that's probably way more than they need.
Yeah, that's guaranteed money. So if you're a grocery store, of course you're gonna raise the prices just to get the extra money, you know, because it's like it's gonna come no matter what anyways. Then why not make it? You know, make that profit.
It's the same for-profit education institution mentality of governments giving financial aid to students, just willy-nilly. So why don't we take that money, create a for-profit institution, blah blah blah. If government's giving money willy-nilly in these SNAP cards, then might as well jump on that money. Amazon allows it. Amazon, you can do your EBT on Amazon.
I didn't even know that.
Everybody's jumping on it.
Wow.
That's why it's almost sometimes showcase, except EBT here. You know, like we want that money. You know,
I didn't know Amazon was doing that.
Can I qualify for that? Or am I helping to pay for these
you're helping
programs
to pay for that
for
because
others?
your income threshold, you know, whatever it is, you're helping to pay for it. But that's what I mean. The trickle down effect with all that. I don't know.
We got to do better for that though, in government and everything. Because I'm sick of this fraud and waste and abuse. Like, if we don't know where our tax-paying money is going to, why are we paying taxes?
I know.
Give me a receipt to say, oh, we spent this much on education, roads, blah blah blah, infrastructure, whatever. Give me something.
It's just at least just make it like absolutely public where all the tax money's going. You know, like.
But instead, all we hear is, oh, our money got stolen and we can't get it back. Sorry, you know, like.
By the way, we're raising your price.
I know. At the same time, we got to make up for it. You know.
Yeah, and again, I'm curious to know: is there any repercussions to reimburse all this tax money that was stolen? It's $1 billion. You know, like, do we get like some kind of like
I don't know.
check back or something?
For what? Where's that going to come from? Like, who's paying for that?
I don't know. Tim Walz.
What if it turns out it was like Tim Walz was part of it? I wouldn't say Tim Walz, but they find out who the culprit, the one
behind the scenes,
behind the
master
scenes doing
puppeteer.
all of this though. Would we be able to
approve?
Yeah, would we be able to come back and compensate some of that money for tax, or at least take that money back and put it towards actually feeding our children and actually doing all that shit? You know, like if we found out that we did feed all of our children during COVID or whatever, and let's just say you guys have kids, and you can go to this place and get free food for your kids. They're feeding your kids, you know, and that happened. I'd be happy with that, you know. At least I would know, like, that's where our taxpaying money. Great, but instead we don't know where it goes, and then it gets stolen. It's like,
and that's always also the other negative, you know, aftermath of something like this. That people who genuinely need that money for good it's going to be harder for them to qualify for these kind of things because it's going to come down tighter. And it's just kind of like, no, that money could be used to real good, to the real part of the community, people who really need it, or that's really helping. And now it's going to be a lot more challenging for those kind of organizations to be able to raise money in that way, you know. So
well, I think it's so, because a lot of people say, how did this happen? And again, it goes back to my point earlier that the group of government workers that first brought this to their attention, kudos to them. And at the same time, there's just this long line of just very vanilla, well-meaning to do workers that just approve things. That's their job. They're contract managers, they're reviewers, they just hold positions that, you just check boxes. And so you're just kind of part of this huge bureaucracy. You're just going through the motions. You know, like they talk about Doge, like just looking at things, they have these antiquated systems for just doing things efficiently. So when you just live in the space where you can just get by with the minimal effort, that's what's going to happen. And I think there's a big part of the sentiment from the Somali community is like, if they're going to let it happen, I'm going to request more next time. Let's see what happens. Oh, it's approved. So that's kind of what it always kind of goes back to that. That's what like people just got to be like better about all this stuff, you know. And
But this is really the perfect example metaphor of just government efficiency. That's all it really is. I mean, like another perfect example is like on a very stupid minimal scale, like Pepper's bus stop. You know, like that thing is like 3 blocks away, and it's on the slope of the hill of the road where it's icy and everything like that. So there's definitely a safety hazard that I personally feel very strongly about. I wrote a very, very long letter complaining a letter directly to the Department of Transportation. I got it in front of the hands of the person who makes the decision to actually make this change. I had, besides myself, I had every one of the people, all parties of this bus stop, which consists of like 4 other families and like 600 children who are at this bus stops, and children who are only in kindergarten and first grade. They're very young. You know, all sign off on the same exact letter. You led
this proposal?
I led the proposal. I sent it to them, and literally, my biggest argument too is one, obviously it's a safety hazard. That's number one. But the second thing is it's not going to affect or change anything on the bus route. I get it. You guys have an efficiency route that's built into place. But if you look at the map and what I'm asking, it doesn't change or affect the bus route at all. It's really just turning down this road instead of going straight, but you're still ending up at the same exact spot. If somebody took 2 seconds to just look at the map and understand what we're requesting, they would realize, it makes perfect sense. Like, do it. But then I get this stupid ass reply where it's just this like, hey, it wasn't even thoughtful. It was like, this is a copied statement that I make to everyone that I deny, and I'm not even going to care to really look into it.
I wrote it.
We regret to inform you.
Exactly.
We appreciate the effort but we regret to inform that we can't do this.
And we design our bus routes. They were specifically picked in these bus routes and so forth. And I'm like, dude, like, it doesn't make a difference. Like, it's not going to change or mess up your bus route at all. And in fact, this would actually create a much safer environment for our young children, because like literally there's a hazardous situation. There is no sidewalk. There's no place for the children to stand. They're on a slope of a road where it can be in icy winter conditions in Minnesota. Our children are at risk of getting hit by a car that loses control down this road. It's like, it makes perfect sense. You know, like, how can you argue against this?
I need the bus to drive up my driveway, all in my driveway, picking my girls right at my front door.
I would love that, you know, and that's what we actually asked, but like just to pick it in front of our houses, you know.
That was the ask?
That was the ask, but it doesn't mess anything up. And not only that, but all parties. It does go through, it can go right through that, and it doesn't mess anything up. And all the parties at this bus stop are literally my front neighbor, my side neighbor, and the neighbor down there.
You guys can all just meet up at one house.
We're all, exactly.
And one stop.
At one stop right there. We're all literally side by side and adjacent to each other.
So you guys propose that you guys will all meet at one stop, or still individual stops at each house?
No, we're all just one stop.
Okay.
That's it, just one stop, because we all live, like, we're all neighbors right next to each other. And like literally, they're like, if you still want to complain, then you can go to this meeting and in person and do that. And I was like, man, I just might have to, you know. I talked to the neighbors, and all the neighbors are like, hey, we're on board, you know, if you want to. But it's like, why make me go through this mess when it literally takes just a few seconds for you to pull up the map and go, let me see what they're saying. Oh, yeah, that's simple. There's no reason why. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And everybody's on board. Now, if it was like one person at that stop, one family was like, we're not aware of this, or we disagree with that, then I get it. You know, because then it's kind of like, well, it's interfering with what they want to as well. And we can't just force because of our majority vote on it. I get that. I can respect. No, every single party
you had
at the stop.
Signatures. You had
all their signatures. Everyone signed off.
Support, which added to your cause much more.
Yep.
It would have been not as strong of a cause if it was just you.
If it's just me complaining.
But now you're doing that. adds to your cause, and at the end of the day, it's too much because that's bureaucracy. You're making me change some I'm used. I don't know. It's too much thinking for me. It's like it's too much. I don't know. Forget it.
Stamp this generic letter back and say no.
Respond to this guy.
Make it sound sympathetic and we're sorry, but make it stern so that he understands we can't make changes.
I'll say, like, honestly, that's the bureaucratic mindset. And we kind of make fun of it, but the truth is that the bureaucracy is such that this person probably doesn't have the latitude to get to exercise judgment for something that has no implication on anything else. But he doesn't get to exercise judgment, but in their mind, it's probably a big shift. Like, to shift a bus route, there's probably some sort of legal implication with that. All this is written out in some sort of book and codified and everything. So even though this move makes perfect sense and they all want it, bureaucracy prevents us from
It just takes a long time.
and the formal route to change this is you got to join the meeting and you got to do all that and stuff. So I get it. Like,
It's so dumb.
It is.
Even one of the guys, the parents at the bus stop, he's a fire chief, a fireman. He would know safety more than anybody else. Even he says it's unsafe. In fact, he has video evidence of cars sliding and losing control. And he's attaching that. And so he's been fighting this for the past 3 years, he's told me. And it's the same response. Exactly, like, nope, our routes have been picked out specifically and strategically to the bus routes. Yeah, this isn't enough reason for us to change. And it's just like,
at the
This
heart
is
of
the
it, you know why
dumbest
it's
thing.
stupid? Because at the heart of it, it's probably boils down to something as stupid as we don't want to be told what to do. Like,
maybe
we have a thing, and if we revise it, it's like we're being pushed around or just being told what to do. I don't want that. You know what? They have to come to the meeting and make their point or whatever. I don't know. It could be something as stupid as that. Like,
so I
people
had
don't like that.
ChatGPT look at all of this together with me, and I asked ChatGPT, like, what's the best way to kind of voice this in a way now where it's like, hey, I warned you guys, and if something does happen, just know that I said it was hazardous. Now one of our kids got hurt.
We told Tim Walz 2 years ago.
Like, is there some accountability now on you guys? Like,
That's
we
the
said it
thing.
a million times. I'm not making this shit up. Like, it is hazardous and there are high risks because
Yeah.
literally the children are being forced to stand in an intersection, right, on the main road,
Yeah.
and literally standing in the middle of the road. There's no sidewalk, there's no nothing, and the road is on a slope,
an icy slope.
icy slope.
We expect you to take the children out there with them.
But
or to be
that's
out there with them.
exactly that's the rule that they're holding, because it says we expect children to be accompanied by parents, for these routes. But I don't care.
What's
Us
hazardous
adults
to you
do
guys
it,
then?
Because if you accompany them when the car hits both of you, at least you can be there to shield them.
to shield them when the car comes slamming into
Yeah.
you.
It's not your children, it's just you.
So I mean, it's really difficult and it's really challenging, and it's like it could be so simple, but that's exactly how the bureaucracy
That's
and government
bureaucracy.
and efficiency work. It's
That's-
just like, please just fucking look at a map and just realize it's common sense. It just makes sense. Don't make me have to jump through hoops.
No,
That's
no.
bureaucracy.
Come to the meeting. Come to the
And
meeting.
so, and because this has completely failed after multiple attempts, here I am every day with the neighbors, walking the kids out 3 blocks down this icy slope, even like as cold as it was today, where it's like negative degrees almost,
Mhm.
icy as hell, with our young little kids walking down this slippery, icy road and standing there in the freezing cold waiting for the bus to
On
come
the side of the road.
on the side of the road, like, and I'm just thinking in my head, like, this is the dumbest shit. You know what? I'm taking my girls out of school. I'm gonna homeschool them. Like, I'll let them watch YouTube and I'll teach them AI and they'll learn.
They'll be fine.
Yeah, they'll figure it out. I'm done with it. Like, it's not worth it.
That's bureaucracy. You mentioned this is like the dumbest little example, but that's exactly bureaucracy.
Yep.
And that's the cost of bureaucracy. And the bureaucracy is probably the big culprit in allowing all this shit to happen with
Yep.
misappropriated funds. It's bureaucracies too.
You take
so.
something like so small, my little, pointless story and whatever, but you blow it up and blow it up and blow it up in the highest level, and it's all the same as you go higher and higher and higher. There's just no accountability. There's no one who cares. There's no in this entire bureaucracy in the business of government. It's just like, hey, you need $10 million? Oh, what are you using it for? Feeding children? Oh, yeah. Feed children. 10 million.
Go ahead.
Here you go. What, you need more? All right.
How did it go last time? Good? All right.
How many did you feed? 3,000?
That's pretty good.
That's not bad. All right. Do you need more money? Here you go. Keep going.
Yeah.
You know, you guys are good people. Feeding children.
Put food on their families.
And you're working hard to put food on your family.
Food on their families.
Put food on the families. So
Well, a bunch of kids who are autistic. Yeah, that sounds about right. We need more money, you know? Like no one pays attention.
see, and there's just repeated asks that just kept growing and growing, and that's crazy. The amount of money.
Yeah. When they noted like what it looked like 5 years ago and every year how it grew that exponentially to like $130 million within a few years, and then
Yeah, it went from like
triples and doubles.
4 million to like over $100 million after 4 years.
But this,
Why didn't we think of something?
I think I'm belaboring the point too, and it's getting long-winded. But here's another effect of the whole insular, the ramifications of this lack of like caring to assimilate to some degree or having that citizenship mindset or whatever, is that when you have such a strong insular group, also what had happened was that you create sort of that internal alliance within this people group of this is sort of our rule of law, meaning that it was alleged that the people who ran the autism center would just go to a lot of these Somali families who were having a lot of kids and just say, just sign off that your kid's autistic.
Yeah.
And they would receive perhaps a little stipend.
kickback. Yeah.
So that's another aspect of the lack of, because now you create a whole community of people who we're all on the same side. We're all for each other.
Mhm.
We have a sense of loyalty to that first. And that's the other aspect of now this big, it's not just, some bad actors who are doing some bad things and the community's just sort of suffering too. And again, I'm not saying this is all the Somali community, but that was a part of the strategy, was to go around Somali communities and say, hey, yeah, just say your son or your daughter is autistic, and that would add
like
to
a
the
doctor's
numbers.
note or something, you know,
I
like
don't know, right? I don't know.
Like, how does that work? Like, you can't just claim this. I mean, then you have some definitions of autism. You know, there's got to be some definitive definition
No,
to.
this is where things fall on the policy higher level. It's probably some sort of, I think, initiative to where you didn't have to be licensed to operate as this sort of entity.
So you can hand it out, like certificate.
yeah.
Your
Yeah.
certificate of autism is right here. You're
Again,
good.
When you're caught
Take
up,
your money.
when you're caught up in the climate of the things at the time, like a lot of things, common sense things aren't addressed. Like very basic common sense things. You're not looking at actual people at the centers. You're not looking at the meals being served, or the fact that if you want to track autism and its improvement in the community, that you should have people who are licensed and whatever. None of that was examined. And then again, it's a sentiment of bureaucracy, laziness, oversight, nefarious intent, or whatever. It's all that, but it's
money.
it's money, man. It's
Money.
yeah.
Isn't it all just reimbursement though? Don't they have to like actually do the work and then they come back to the government or the state and just say, hey, this is how many that we did? Kind of like what the Feeding the Future is. We fed 100,000 people, our children. Now give us our money.
No,
because the government wouldn't give them money. Well, they probably will in the beginning, but they're not just gonna like, hey, here goes this allotted amount of money. Do what you do with it, though. Right?
I mean, but then
Each contracts might be different
Yeah.
with how the allotment works, but for the most part, with its government funds, I think a lot of times you have to establish, your official nonprofit entity, and with that, and have like sort of a budgeting structure, and then a lot of it is your own expenditures that then you bill back to the county.
Yeah.
And so, but that's where you have the roles of people who review contracts and say, does this align with the outcomes of their contract and whatever? But when people just sign off on things,
So
and people
they
don't
don't
look
even
at the
check it.
numbers.
Yeah.
They
for
don't
sure
check.
on a small scale, but we're talking hundreds of millions
Yeah,
of
that's what I
dollars.
mean.
It's like, I don't got that kind of expenditure. I'm trying to feed kids right now. I need that money up front so I can make them food and have the resources in the restaurant and the place to
that's-
actually
yeah.
feed the kids,
Some of the allotments probably were.
It's got to
were
be up front.
Some were probably. So I think it's very program contingent too, and
What were they feeding them? 100.
and at first, like I can imagine being
Lamb
somewhere-
chops, baked potatoes, ribeye steaks,
Filet mignon.
filet mignons, lobsters, and shrimps, and red wine.
It's feeding our future
Yeah.
to our future right there. And I'm sure at first there were some meals served, and you only got so much. You did that, and then maybe later you didn't serve meal, but then you still billed for it anyways, and then say, "Hey, no one checked. How much more can we get away with?" And then next time you don't even serve the meals, or you don't even, and you realize, guys, we can just say we're doing these things and not actually do them. And will it actually work? And then
double it up every
sure,
year.
let's do it. Hey, why don't you start this sort of center? Or this, and then that's what happens. You know, like no one actually goes out there and checks. So there's that.
I mean, the sad part is yeah, this is a pretty extreme case with huge implications and spotlights on it, but shit happens. We all know this happens all the time. You know, this is just one community who just went too far with it. You know, but it happens all the time.
No, it's
Everybody's doing it. You know, it's
For us taxpayers.
why didn't
Paying
we
it.
figure this out? Should have figured out something.
the government's money has a lot of means of disbursement, and loopholes to sort of get things. The NGO loophole, all that stuff. There's so much money, so no one knows about it.
It's just crazy because you have all that. The Federal Reserve's printing so much money with quantum easing. We're shipping literally billions and billions of dollars all around the world with all these wars, and
we're in a huge deficit.
gigantic deficit. Like, is the American worker who are paying these taxes? Are we that powerful that we're like basically like paying the whole world to move forward? You know what I'm saying? Like, the amount of money that's being embezzled and stolen and everything, and then at the same time, all the money that's doing real good shit too as well, and then everything that they've been finding of what we've been supporting all around the world and funding these wars. It's like, how much can the American worker do? You know, like, give us a break. You know, like, if that's all just stops, like, what happens? You know, like, you know, just, you know, for the remaining of Trump's presidency, next 3 years, no more taxes. No more taxes.
You guys deserve a break.
Yeah, you guys just take a break, you know? We're gonna ride this out for 3 years.
We'll try it out.
Yeah.
The government's done a lot of dilly-dallying for a long time. We'll
Yep.
give you a break.
We're gonna give you guys a break.
We'll give you a stimulus check too as well.
We'll pay you back some stimulus money, and we're just not gonna tax you guys for 3 years. What would happen? Like, holy shit, what would happen?
The
Like,
domino.
We would just end up spending more. Economy would just.
and surprise, in 1 week, all the U.S. citizens became ultra rich. You know, like, became prosperous. The cure for cancer has been found already. You know, Elon Musk actually sent a rocket to the Mars. We made it. You know, like, what would happen if all this money just came back and started rebuilding our country, and we focused only us here within our borders to say, you know what, fuck it, let's fix the streets. You know, let's fix all of our infrastructure. Let's build the technology of the future. Let's build a system, a true welfare system that takes care of everyone. You know, let's make everybody's wages higher and drive true economy. You know, into the future. Like, what would happen? You know, like, where would we become as a nation?
And I know that the economists and the financial models would look at that and be like, well, in that hypothetical scenario, you run the risk of all these things. There's no revenues, tax revenues coming from them. So who's going to pay for these things and blah, blah, blah. So they're going to go down this path of like why it's not tenable, why it's not
You have to go to the meeting.
You got to go to the meeting. But
I'm bringing everybody too.
To your point, I would just say, who cares? Just try it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like what we're doing is like really good. Like, we're doing a terrible job financially, the U.S. Like, because my understanding is a lot of that revenue from taxes only covers so much of all of our expenditures. The deficit is just the printing of money, and like that's the deficit, and so either we'll print more money to cover what we need, or let's just try it out as a social experiment of just don't tax anymore. We'll just figure it out, and I don't know, just give back to the American people, and how that would.
We tested it out for the last 2 years, and it turns out each person actually had $60 more in their bank account or something, you know? Yeah. Well, actually, no. You base it on taxes, I would have a lot. I get taxed a lot. Because me and my guy, we file as marriage, and we fall within a certain bracket. Plus, I get my bonuses and
And it's
all
not
these
just the
different
amount,
ways.
Everybody get taxed a lot.
but it's not
Everybody does.
the ripple effect's not just the amount. There's some people where that amount of money that they get makes a big difference. There's a lot of people where if I saved on the taxes, my life is already pretty good. It's not like it's going to add that much value, but there's the morale factor. There's something about your country doing this for you. You know,
Yeah.
Like you've been paying into this all this time, and the country is like you're proud of it. There's a sense of duty and right and citizenship to your country. So, like if your leadership looked out for us and bailed us out, like sort of, instead of bailing out the,
Every other country in the
or
world.
bailing out big business or the housing crisis, we
Banks,
got bailed out.
Wall Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, the working class needs a bailout, just and our bailout is all we're saying is just stop taxing us for a few years.
From all these shenanigans we're finding, just stop taxing us for a while, just to give us a break, because we're discovering all these shenanigans of what they're paying for. We need a break, from taxes.
You want to know why they
Please.
can't do it? You want to know why they can't do it? Because as soon as they do it and everyone realizes, oh my God, this is great. No one's gonna ever want to go back.
They'll fight
no
it.
one's ever gonna want to go
They'll
back.
fight it to go back, because as soon as on your check you don't see all those little line items where they're taken out.
Yeah.
It goes away, and then you forget. Okay, 2 years go by. Oh, now they're back. You're like, what?
I can't do that anymore. It's just us. It's all the corporations too, and all the people we
That's
work
what you
for,
have.
because they're paying into the taxes. They're gonna go. They're gonna feel the same heavy weight too. No one's ever gonna want to pay it anymore. That's why when it comes to taxes, it starts small, then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. They have to do it because if they did that overnight too, like we're gonna garnish all this before you even get paid. We're gonna take 30%
It would
of
be
your
right.
money already right up front. Like we would raise hell. But
it's also
it's
the
small
upfront
increments.
factor versus you paying it after the fact. And I know you can pay your taxes later, but the idea of taking it out up front is another psychological factor that makes it easier to sort of swallow this reality that you're paying your taxes.
Oh yeah, and by the way, now you have to pay a tax person and TurboTax. We got a software.
Yeah.
TurboTax.
Becomes a business in and of itself.
Yeah.
They could take a cut out of your taxes if they do it for you. Anybody, man. I don't like it.